us. Mark, good to see you. Good morning.
Morning, Maria.
All right, expectations. What are you looking at?
I look at politics as I do financial markets. You know, one single day of performance can be interesting, but you really look at the trend line. And the trend line is overwhelmingly in favor of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So I think what we'll see tonight is Trump will probably win 8 out of 9 primaries. There are also 2 caucuses that are going on. Those are less predictable. Texas, I think, should go to Ted Cruz. But, you know, if Trump wins there, then that's going to tell a different story. So the trend line is overwhelmingly in his favor. Super Tuesday in 1988 and 2000 and 2008, you know, they were all similar position where there was a front runner, but some guys who were still scrambling to try to slow him down. Typically, that just doesn't happen.
Wow. So, Dagan, it comes down to, is this going to be a sweep or not for Donald Trump?
It's going to be a sweep. It could be a sweep, even if it isn't a sweep and Cruz wins Texas, it's still going to be a sweep to Donald Trump. One thing to watch in Texas, Rubio needs to get to that 20% threshold in Texas in order to get delegates in that state. If he's going to, I know that he's committed to staying in it until the 15th, until Florida, but he really, because right now the way the polls look, Rubio doesn't even look like he's going to win one state. But he's definitely got to get those delegates. And my biggest concern, or the thing to watch, is, do people who are not in favor of Trump, do they not even go out and vote in some states? Virginia is purely proportional, so one vote, your vote really counts because all the there's no threshold. But are people going to stay at home because they're like, Donald Trump's running away with it, my vote doesn't count?
Well, Virginia, it's interesting that you bring up Virginia, because Virginia and Georgia are 2 of the places where Rubio is actually polling well. Does he have a chance at all, in your opinion, of picking off those states?
I don't think so. I think the gap is too large for him to overcome. Another interesting trend, though, too, is in Massachusetts, 20,000 Democrats in the last few months have switched their party identification so they can vote on the Republican side. That is an interesting trend. What Donald Trump has done from the beginning is run a general election campaign. He's building a general election coalition already. Nobody ever does that. You don't do that in a primary. Hillary Clinton has been campaigning to the left month after month after month. Donald Trump has always just tried to build out a broad coalition. So I don't think, in the case of Virginia, I don't think Rubio can overcome the gap that's in place.
I've started a new group called Establishment Anonymous. We're having a group therapy session at 4 p.m. just to have like a little seance together.
That's very good.
But
I'm recovering as well.
I'm a recovering establishment person. But the question I have for you is, like, you're in the establishment, you're getting phone calls from your buddies in Australia saying, are you guys really going to elect Donald Trump? And so the answer could be yes. And so what do you say to your fellow establishment people about his candidacy? Should the establishment be behind him? Should they break and create a third party? What would you recommend to the members of the establishment? Well,
my big concern is that the establishment right now is just looking to trip him up. You know, this hashtag Never Trump movement that's going on right now, and this notion that Mitt Romney, if Rubio drops out after Florida, that Mitt Romney could get on the ballot in late states just to prevent Trump from hitting the 1,237 delegate threshold. My recommendation instead would be to build bridges. You know, it's kind of like with the National Review issue that came out a month ago. The reason why I think that was a huge mistake is because if this man becomes the nominee or becomes the president, how are you going to be able to have influence? I mean, there's still the opportunity. If the guy's a deal maker, then there's the opportunity to have influence. So my recommendation would be build bridges, build ties. See if you can't influence who he picks for a running mate.
Do you think the establishment's too emotional in their outcry against him? What do you think?
But don't you think it's symmetric? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but don't you think it's symmetrical? Because, I mean, their outrage is on par with his outrage and the outrageous things he said. So, I mean, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right?
Listen, Dave, I have talked to people that were sitting senators that were inside a meeting with Senator McConnell recently, and Senator McConnell basically gave, according to the people who were in the meeting, basically gave those senators free rein to run ads against Trump in their state if they wanted to, even if he's the nominee. I think, while your advice is great, I think the train has left the building. I think that there is enough people in the conservative establishment and the regular establishment and your establishment anonymous that are not going to settle for Trump being the nominee. I think that this is the breaking apart of the Republican Party that we're about to see.
No, what does that mean for the next couple of weeks? I mean, you're either on the train or you're not on the train.
Well, look, the guys who are running, Rubio and Cruz, they've got it right to continue and try to give it the best
And Cruz
they can.
has a lot of money. Cruz
He's got
isn't
a lot of
going
money.
anywhere. Even if he loses today, which he's not, Cruz is not going anywhere. He has more money than the RNC.
Absolutely, but the establishment is gnashing its teeth because of power. They want to be able to hang on to their power. They want to be able to dictate the terms of races like this, and they can't do that this year.
Right.
Yeah,
But
but
candidate Trump, I'm sorry.
No, but some voters are gnashing their teeth because they don't like what Donald Trump represents in terms of conservative ideals. That they don't like that he went after Bush and called him a liar,
Right.
essentially,
Okay, but
over
not-
weapons of
but
mass
not-
That's why
destruction.
Pete King is no longer. I mean,
Right.
he for a little while, Congressman King was behind Trump, and now he's completely done a 360.
Right, they
take a
don't
look
like
at
him over trade, they don't like him
180.
over spending
180.
plans.
But look at the economic and national security anxiety. Look at immigration. That's where this campaign started. And look, now Jeff Sessions, who is legendary on
Yeah.
immigration, has now endorsed Trump.
Exactly.
You know, a
And
sitting
before
U.S.
him,
senator.
Stephen Miller, who used to work for Jeff Sessions, was with Trump.
Absolutely.